I wrote down some things about my experiences in Austin,
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
like I do when I'm in cities. Shit drivers. Now, shit drivers are everywhere, obviously. Toronto has some pretty
Better
shit
or
drivers.
worse than Toronto?
Worse in the sense that they're just slower. And then the ultimate thing I noticed, my last thing, Miss Vicky's chips in the U.S. are butt cheeks.
Really?
I would say they're like probably the best chip
in
in Canada.
Of course.
The worst thing I've ever had.
What?
Like they tasted like stale. They didn't have that crunch, and the flavors were just like.
Well, they don't have all dressed.
I don't even know if it was that. I like had like salt and vin, tastes like shit. And that's like a classic Miss Vicky's. Anyway, 7 out of 10 city.
I was expecting lower. 7 out of 10. You guys heard it here first.
I had a good time.
Well, on that note, we are back with TTK. I almost said clutch of the week. Very close to saying clutch of the week.
Clutch of the week.
Clutch of the week. It's not, though. It's time to kill. I am your host for today, Dimitri Pascaluta, for episode 5 of the Time to Kill podcast. And joining me are 2 lads. One official lad, one sort of like
honorary
lad.
Adjacent.
Adjacent.
Yeah.
Adjacent.
Canadians are lad adjacent.
Yeah.
Like we're allies of lads.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
It's the Commonwealth connection.
We share a
Commonwealth
monarchy. We share, yeah.
For now.
What was the Commonwealth if not but a bunch of lads?
A bunch of lads.
I'm sure there'd be a lot of countries that would be happy with that.
So yeah, joining us back from Austin, Texas is none other than Devin Coull. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm doing great. It's lovely to be back in God's country. And yeah, Austin was great. The major was awesome. I'm sure everyone watched it and got to see the history be made by Vitality. I'm just boring myself talking about it.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. It was great. And thank you to everyone who came and said hello and participated in the Streeters. Never in my life did I think I would be signing stuff for people,
Damn.
let alone taking pictures.
What is the
with people.
weirdest thing you signed?
The weirdest thing I signed was at Laundersland, and it was like just a pair of like sunglasses that you would get from, like, you know, if you do like you go to like a charity event and they have like just plastic sunglasses that you give out, or like you go to like the Virgin Mobile hut at like the C&E and they're like, here's a pair of free sunglasses. Like it was like one of those things, and I signed it and I'm like, where's this gonna go? Like, where does this just like sit? And I did it like kind of shitty too because it was like on a lens.
Yeah, that's tough.
At the major, it was like pretty normal stuff, like mouse pads. People had like the CS:GO HLTV like picture book.
Yeah.
And they were getting people to like sign it like a thing. And yeah, that's pretty cool. No like butt cheeks or faces or anything like
Appendages,
that.
faces, babies.
No.
I've signed mouse pads. I signed a keyboard once, which was hard. I decided to do it. I asked if I could, and I decided to do it on the keys. Like just the number of keys for my name.
You just like circle the letters.
Yeah.
That spell your
Special
name.
circle. Yeah.
And then you put like 1. So D is 1.
Yeah. It's like a macro. It's like a function.
Yeah.
I've signed at Masters. I signed a bunch of those like Poro thing. What are they called? Poros. What are they called?
Well, in
Like
League,
chibis.
Chibi, but it's the Valorant equivalent.
They
have their own
version,
in Valorant.
their own
Not, but I signed
Poros.
Poros at Worlds for League. The weirdest thing I've ever signed was a Starbucks cup. I was at Worlds and someone asked me to sign a Starbucks cup. They had nothing
He was
on them.
at Starbucks, and they're
Yeah,
like, we can't
We need
spell
your
it.
name. You're like, all right, guys, okay. No, we just need your name,
I
sir.
didn't even make that.
Yeah.
I
I'll
ordered a
sign it.
coffee and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just asked me to write my
get
name.
your
It was
name?
like, guys, like, yeah. No, someone asked me. They had a Starbucks cup. It was like near empty, and they were like, I don't have anything, like, cause I don't have anything I want. So like, would you sign this Starbucks cup? And I was like, yeah, I guess.
I like, it's extremely humbling. Like, I'm just like, that's like, it's super cool. Like, I just like talk about video games.
I know.
And it's cool that people fuck with the vision,
Yeah, brother.
so to speak.
Daniel Burke. What's your middle name, Daniel?
I can't say that on stream.
No?
I'm afraid. No, I can't. James. It's James.
Daniel James Burke.
yeah.
First time guest on the podcast.
Yeah. Big fan of the show though. I've watched
Long-time listener, first-time
long-time
caller.
listener. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've watched a fair amount, and it's good. It's chill. I feel like I need my laptop here as a sort of crutch. I need to be able to sort of glance over and
For all the breaking news.
all the breaking news in case anything comes through.
Be
Look at some
parasocial.
stats, but no, I'm looking forward to having a chat.
Having a chat.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a real lad, like an actual lad. You know what I mean? As opposed to just us.
Oh, I thought there was like a slide at Seb.
No, not a slight Seb. Just
He's what, French?
I mean, he's from like Windsor, right? So he's like,
Ugh.
I know.
It's like the opposite of lad.
That's whatever the opposite of a lad is.
Anti-lad.
Anti-lad. Yeah. But we have Daniel on because I don't know, I've just fully defaulted to calling you Daniel, but
Yeah.
I've full named you. But we have Danny on because MSI's going on, as some of you may know. It's finally time to talk about something that's not an FPS of some kind.
True.
Which is cool, which is awesome. So yeah, but we also have one more guest, and that is all the way from Windsor, Ontario, is Sebastien. There he is.
Surprise guest.
Surprise guest. Host of TTK. Noted host of TTK. Couldn't just let one episode go by.
There's no way I just got Windsor and French shamed in like the same sentence
In, like, 18
to
seconds.
bring me onto the show.
Yeah, brother.
That's so rude. Yeah, no, I'm here at MSI. It's honestly sick. I was hearing Devin rant off about Austin, and I'm like, couldn't be me. Vancouver's beach. It's sick. No, it's honestly great. I think within the first hour, I walked through the airport door. I saw that it was like 22 with a gorgeous breeze, mountains in the distance, and I was like, I want to move here. It is quite good. Already got some merch, right? Got the MSI shirt. It's been great, honestly. I'm really enjoying it. I also want to point out that as far as dating the podcast, I've had people DM me about the podcast. One of my best friends, IRL, put it probably in the weirdest way possible. He says, and I quote, "It hurts to listen to your podcast. Like, it's really good. It just hurts. Like something is scratching the inside of my skull."
Do they elaborate any further? I'm curious
Nope.
now.
Nope, they
We'll have
did
to get them
not.
on the show. They can be the
Yeah.
guests next time.
We can get them as a
Interrogate them,
caller.
What they mean? What do they mean by
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I'm down.
Interesting.
Vancouver weather in July, August. We were just talking about this
Yeah.
off air. Is goated.
Yeah.
Actually goated. It's the best in Canada for sure.
I don't think I would be living in Canada if Vancouver wasn't the first city I went to in Canada. That was the first place I went to, and I was like, oh, this country's different. Like, this is nuts. Like,
Yeah.
I was just taking pictures constantly, sending
Yeah.
it back home. Yeah, incredible. It's ridiculous. Like, mountains just there.
Just there.
right behind the buildings, you know.
You see
So-
snow tops on mountains, it's like right there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying I wore when I was there the first time for TI in 2018. I was in Stanley Park in August, in the dead of summer, and I was literally I put a hoodie on. It's like it's a little breezy. It's actually a little cold. Like it's nice. It's beautiful. I completely understand why people want to buy homes there and live there.
Yeah.
It's really really nice.
It is like when you go to Calgary for the first time and see like Banff or Lake Louise, and you're like, oh, there's levels to this shit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
deep.
yeah.
No, it is. It's like,
Like
and I'm not.
Ontario is beautiful in its own right in different ways, but
It's green and flat, which is nice. Like honestly, there's a
Yeah.
lot of lakes, but it's just it's it's very humid and it's not a lot of air down here. We don't get a lot of nice
no good crosswinds.
No.
Well,
not at all.
I DM'd Dimitri about it. I was like, wow, Vancouver is like actually peak. He's like, it's those ocean winds, brother. It's just, yeah, you know, it just feels different. It smells different. I will say that where we're located, which is like in the heart of Vancouver right now, like downtown Vancouver on the south Vancouver side. It is kind of funny because you can make like comparisons to Toronto very easily. So I would say I'm basically like right next to the King Street of Vancouver, which is where like all the bars and clubs or whatever are. I've immediately found the Queen Street west of Vancouver, which is where like all the gentrified big store like locations are. Found the Yorkville of Vancouver. Myself, Sean, and Matt, we went to 49th Parallel. If you know, you know, I guess, which came very highly recommended by one of our old bosses, Sean Tepper. And honestly, I've already been to about 4 different roasteries for coffee. I spent an unhealthy amount of money here.
It is a great city. It is a great city.
Have you been to Gastown? Is Gastown any of those places you were just describing?
Yes, we went to Gastown and we shot product footage with the Omen Max 16 laptop. We went to Lee's Donuts.
That sounds like I set that up.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
like,
Yeah, I know,
Gastown at all? Filmed any product stuff?
Yeah. How about
Went to Lee's Donuts. Matt loved it. Matt has already had like 10 donuts.
Makes sense.
And I've been trying. It's my mission to try and get him to like try different kinds of food. Very difficult.
Have you been to New Westminster? New West?
No.
You
Maybe
should go to New West. New West slaps.
if I see it on a
Toronto's
map.
a better
maybe.
city in every way, shape, and form still, so I just want to make that clear. It goes Montreal, Toronto,
Windsor?
Vancouver, Calgary.
Don't let Keith hear you. He doesn't stand for anyone who's not actually from Toronto. He's just will not stand
Toronto's
for any
second.
Toronto
I
slander.
just think Montreal is the,
Montreal's obviously
I think it
better
is
than
the
Toronto.
greatest city in North America.
In North America is. I mean, I'm here for it. Like, I will glaze that take all day. I'm
All
here
right,
for it.
good.
You ever been to
Just
Montreal?
gonna
I'll
Dave?
glaze
glaze that take.
Montreal
I'll
and
glaze that take all
Vancouver
day.
right now. You know.
Never
right.
heard that.
Well, I would
That's
actually
great.
love to sit here and talk about the best city in North America, but unfortunately, we have to talk about who's the best team at MSI. I say unfortunately because I don't know if you guys watched that series last night, but
Well,
yeah.
we went into the tournament thinking it's Gen G, and at the minute, still Gen G. Still Gen G. So
did you hear what Cagel said at the end of the match where he goes, the thing that scares me the fucking most about this is like, I think they looked off tonight. He's like, I actually think there was like something not right with Gen G, and they looked a little bit like shaky, like they were not executing.
they'll have to go back to the drawing board and think about that game one. They'll be upset about that.
Yes.
Like that wasn't part of the plan. Whereas for the rest of Europe, that was such sad hopium because of the time zone difference. Everyone in Europe stayed up after that game one because it was also so convincing. Like it was a really
Oh, yeah.
It was like
decent
17-3. Yeah.
And then business as usual just resumed, and I saw people were saying that obviously this is the first time we're doing like best of 5 series right off the bat as opposed to the best of 1s in like previous years. So if it was a best of 1, there could have been a world where people were just absolutely hyping the. Can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
swear.
Wow.
Hyping the
Yeah.
fuck
Well.
out of
Yeah.
G2.
Yes,
Just
you can.
hyping the fuck out of G2 right now because they would have just beat.
The only
Gen G,
difference is
perhaps,
that
you know.
because of the way that the drafts work with Fearless, they like, you know what I mean?
There
Like
might
a
have been something
BO1.
tactical going on where
Yeah.
Gen G were intentionally holding off on certain picks, but it's just interesting that now it's like now we're just fully back to Gen G are gonna win the whole thing. Like a lot of people are just like, that was just like there wasn't even a blip on the radar, you know, that first game.
I mean, there's a lot to talk about in the series. Devin, go ahead.
No, it is sort of like what you're saying. If it was a best of 1, it's like this. It's like the inverse of Counter-Strike group stages.
Yeah,
at
I
a
know.
major where just like, okay, what if it was a best of 3 instead though?
Yes.
Like
Yeah. What if we didn't play them on Inferno and we started T-side?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's funny to hear the inverse of that conversation. Where Gen G like was this like coming from a mile away? Like you could see like the train was just gonna hit the station.
I think
no
what
matter
happened
what.
was this. The train, I recorded the react this morning for this on this insane Lee Sin performance that Canyon put on last night. And I think that the way it's very obvious that Gen G went into this series ready to deliver it's not personal, it's just business as usual 3-0 beatdown. And then they got pumped in game 1. And then Gen G went into the next game, into game 2 and 3 and 4, being like, it's the Michael Jordan, it became personal with me.
Yeah.
It was, they fucking fisted G2. Like, absolutely and I think they were ready to go in and just win. just respectfully
Yeah.
3-0 them. You know what I mean?
Like a gentleman's.
A gentleman's 3-0.
Yeah.
Just to like, but they like lost game 1. They saw Caps and Hansama popping off and being like, there's hope. You know, the whole continent of Europe, the whole Western Hemisphere was like, take that, Korea. And literally Genji were just like, and just rolled up and absolutely fucking destroyed them.
So we were there for immediate like post conference interviews or press conference interviews immediately right after, right? And I think it was Ian and Canyon. And so one of the questions that someone else had posed was, can you describe G2's performance in one word? Canyon took a second. You could see him like smirk a couple times, but it just like getting close. Creative. And that's it.
I mean, that's rare for even Korean players to have like even a hint of BM that's not like staged in like one of the riots. You know what I mean? Like the riot cinematics, they'll do like the faker, I'm coming for you, or you know what I mean? Like where riot writes the script. But like to actually do an interview with Korean players and get them to like goad, like, and even a semblance of trash talk.
You could tell he absolutely wanted to, bro. Like he was absolutely so ready to be like mid as hell. But
like, you think that like he wasn't searching for a word and said creative because he wanted to like. You think maybe he was just like they took.
You think he was being serious?
He's trying to say something redeeming about them. I think maybe you could say they were. You can look. Creative doesn't mean that you're particularly good or bad. I don't think he's saying that they're good or bad either way. It's just that they were trying techniques that they hadn't seen in the LCK, which didn't work. But at least you can say it's creative. I think he was probably being genuinely serious and not. I don't think it's BM. I don't think that's BM to say that someone's being creative, is it?
I mean, Seb, you were there. Was it BM?
It felt like he was going to say something BM, and then he's like, okay, hold on, let me just find a better word here. And then he said creative. That's what it felt like to me. But also like Canyon's performance, like Sean Wetzlar, who's with us, was losing his mind at the fact that Canyon was taking every single Gromp in game 3 and not allowing the enemy jungler to play the game. Was honestly hilarious to see his reaction, because he was like, this is just mean. This is just bullying. It was a hard watch.
The Canyon performance on Lee Sin in game 3 was, I said in my react this morning joke, but like it was literally the Korean Lee Sin TikTok meme. Like it was he was bullying. Did you see the play, Danny? The Herald play?
Yeah.
When he was emoting.
Yeah.
He literally emoted constantly. Like it's so. He was a master class in like absolute.
I thought they banned emoting. I thought Riot was like, whoa.
No, it's just
there was
wrong.
something about that, wasn't there?
It was like was it the too small one, like the so close?
Oh no, they banned that one specific emote. But you remember this?
Yeah, vaguely.
They banned, like there's an emote that meant the Riot intended for it to be so close.
Yeah.
You know, obviously people weren't doing it. But every time you killed someone, you'd just be like,
the
guy in the enemy team.
Well, because what didn't some guy use that emote and it immediately went to a pause for a different reason?
That was it.
And people just thought, they're like, oh, Riot was just
that's what it was.
But it was like an actual tech pause, but it literally happened a second after he used
People
it.
thought they had to stop the game.
That,
There's kids watching.
Yeah.
No, it was Genji fucked last night. Like they really looked incredibly strong. I will say, and this is, people are gonna say it's copium, but like there were positives to G2. I don't just mean the game 1 win. I really feel that Caps' team griefed the shit out of him in the last game. Like I really feel that like Caps was like 2 levels ahead of Chovy on TF. He was TPing all around the map, just trying to find picks. He found a pick, and then Mundo gets caught on Raptors, gets killed, and like it was just like there were definitely moments where G2 had looked like they were staying in the game. They were staying relevant. They were playing for their scaling. They were trying to find good fights. But then there were also moments where I just like, they would do things and I would be like, I think they are just crumbling. Like they're just combusting under the pressure. They're just not, like.
Yeah. I saw people making the comparison. I mean, for Devin, there was a sort of joke back in the day with TSM that TSM were basically Bjergsen and four wards. Like that was the team at one point.
Yeah.
It was just like he used the four of
Yeah,
them
yeah.
just as for vision. They were just
Yeah.
living wards, and that same comment was coming up about Caps. It just kind of felt like he was just trying to play off them. They were just giving him vision. He was trying to play off them. But particularly G2's bot lane are getting a lot of flack. It honestly, like the sentiment I'm getting from a lot of people is that like they're just not at that level. Like
Yeah.
it's not even like they had a bad series. They were clear misplays. But it's just like it just looked like boys and men between like Ruler, player of the series, just completely. It was such a bot gap, like
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if that. I don't know what Caps can really do in that situation. It's particularly hard, and it's hard on TF because you can set up those picks, but you're not necessarily going to be able to execute them by yourself if your other carry, like Hans Sammer, isn't able to follow through as well.
Right.
The nail in the
think it was
coffin was that. Oh, I was gonna say this, and then like you said, that the nail in the coffin was that play I mentioned where he actually found, like he finally finds that pick bot lane TF like Caps, and literally as they're getting the kill, right? I think it was onto Keen. Like it was a kill that mattered. It was like onto Keen as they're getting the kill, their Mundo gets caught in wraps, killed. Right, and then they go right, and then Genji go right onto Baron because they're like, all right, well, G2 no smite, so easy to go. And like you could, like I think Cage lost it, like they were losing it. They were like you could just see, like this guy spent 17 minutes trying to get you into this game to win you this game, and the second he goes bot and gets the TP and they get the kill, right, you get caught out and you just can't. And I hate to I don't want to do the Caps 4 wards thing, but like I don't know, dude. Watching that series last night, I was like, free Caps.
It's the kind of thing you have in solo queue, isn't it? When that sort of that absolute exasperation when you finally manage to make a play, and then you're just praying that something doesn't happen on either side of the map.
Yeah.
And I just sensed that from Caps. It felt like a solo queue game gone wrong.
Yeah, you're like trapped by the rest of your team.
Yeah.
Like the sort of like you're held hostage.
Yeah.
The thing we've talked about over and over with solo queue in League.
Well, especially with how, like, I mean, Chovy, obviously, I think the big story is that Chovy's kind of going off this whole tournament. But I mean, Caps was actually in a lot of these games. I think, I think it was maybe game 2. Caps was holding his own. Like, he was very much kind of like doing all right, just in the mid lane, doing what he can need to support the team. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, there was just like individual moments where it was Galio just no mana, or just single callouts from Genji, who especially in game 4 just had entire map control and everyone was getting caught out. But I was actually impressed considering like Chovy didn't have like a super hard carry potential, and it was very much reliant on the rest of Genji to kind of push him across the line. But yeah, it was definitely hard to watch at times, especially like from the media room, like people just like covering their faces, just didn't know what to do.
Yeah, because it's not even like, it's one thing to just watch, a front to back team fight and one team just outplays the other, but it's so heartbreaking when it's just like unforced errors on the other side of the map. That's like really exasperating to watch. Even if you're a neutral fan, that's not fun League. Like, do you know what I mean, to see? I mean, yeah, it's just... Yeah, they went out with a whimper, it felt like.
Was it game 3 or 4, the lane swap? There was a crucial moment where... Was it the Corki game? I think it was the game when Ruler was on Corki and Hans was on Kai'Sa. And they got out Ruler's flash. They got out Ruler's flash, they chunked him down. And like I remember like I was watching with my wife and I was like, she plays League as well, and I was like, I was saying to her, like, she doesn't watch a lot of Pro League though, so I was sort of explaining the significance of like getting out the ADC's flash in the first like 30 seconds, especially in a Kai'Sa lane, because Kai'Sa is just such a bad laner, like she's so weak in the laning phase that like, and then literally they backed and they lane swapped, and I was like, you just got Ruler's flash, you just evened the playing field in a Kai'Sa lane, and G2's first instinct was like, let's lane swap. They went top, didn't get a kill. Ruler gets up a wave bot lane, right? The BB comes bottom, gets dove, dies. And like I looked at that and I was like, you actually just entered the game. Like you got a lead for like half a second, panicked, and thought we have to do something with this, and then just completely threw the game.
So it's interesting being able to hear a lot of like Lost Ratona's kind of scrim audio and stuff, because I for one am hearing more of the kind of decision making that goes on with some of these swaps and these plays, and sometimes it's a case of like they'd already made the decision 3 minutes before they were going to swap, and they haven't updated their plan based off a kill or a flash.
Yes,
it's almost like they're too reliant, and they almost. Like they panic so much they've just locked into the default. Like there's no updating of the plans at all. Obviously, we don't know if that's what happened in that case, but it's bizarre. It's like they kind of have a game plan, and the flash is just it's like a moment of relief rather than a reason to change your plan. It's just like.
Does it feel too early? And I'm curious, Seb, sort of what the atmosphere is like around G2. Because obviously they're not out. Right, they're just getting knocked down to the lower bracket. I also really want to reiterate here that I don't think anyone expected G2 to win this series. If they had won the series,
everyone either guessed 3-0 or 3-2, at least in the back.
Yeah,
or sorry, 3-1. Excuse me, 3-1 or 3-0.
Yeah, it would have been an insane upset if G2 had won this series.
But what's interesting is I think some people are more concerned about the close series they had with GAM. Like that, the Gen G thing. It's like you say, okay, they weren't expected to beat the best team in Korea, who's just come off an 18-0 split. No one was expecting that. But then when they just managed to beat GAM, that's almost more concerning. I'm not saying the gap between them and GAM is the same as the gap between them and Gen G, but that wasn't a clean series. That was a close 3-2. So it's almost like, yes, they're not on Gen G's level, but are they really that much ahead of the chasing pack themselves?
Well, so here's my question. Go ahead, Seb.
There's I think kind of across the board, it's funny to see, but there's almost more confidence into FlyQuest right now, which is baffling to me, obviously, as an NA player. But I think people are still holding to that hopium from last year's Worlds with FlyQuest going the full 5. And they're like, man, if LEC is kind of just limping across the finish line a little bit, where is FlyQuest actually going to go? And so obviously today, as we record this, and I don't know, I think probably by the time this episode goes out, FlyQuest and AL will be playing, but everyone has a very hard eye on FlyQuest versus AL, because this is kind of their preparation manifesting itself for this tournament. I was talking and interviewed both Masu and Bwipo for this, and they're they just spent so much this entire time trying to fix the mental game in their composition, is that they know mechanically that they're good enough. They know that they have the pool to make it work and whatnot, but it's trying to get over the mental hump has always been the big thing for them, and now everyone just is super locked in on what they're going to be able to do against China right now.
I just want to pass on my commiserations to FlyQuest for if they beat AL, who are the #1 team in China right now, they get to play Gen G next.
Oh,
GG's.
That's their path forward right now, is to beat the #1 Chinese team and then the #1 Korean team. I mean, here's a question: if they beat AL, do people give them a snowball's chance in hell to at least do better than better than G2 against Gen G, or does the narrative not change if they beat?
It changes.
The #1,
100% changes. Especially because the thing that FlyQuest have that I don't think G2 has ever had, save the 2019 G2, the great GOAT G2. They don't have confidence, man. They don't have that swagger that FlyQuest have. G2 don't play like a confident team. I look at that bot lane, I look at the fucking and I just G2 feel like they're always playing so scared. Every time I look at Hans, man, he just looks like he's shitting himself. And I feel like you can't be laning against Ruler and be shitting yourself. You have to have big dick attitude and be I'm going to fuck. You got to do the Bousy thing.
Yeah.
You got to do the Bousy thing. You got to be I'm either going to go 6-0 or I'm going to go 0-6. And there's no fucking in between, right?
Dude, they need a canyon. They need a canyon, dude. Skew was getting rocked. That hurt. Canyon just, especially again in that game 3, had so much confidence. You didn't even think G2 was in the server.
He was diving
Holy
towers,
shit.
Danny, as Lee Sin and making plays that were suicide.
It was
crazy. Yeah.
Speaking of Ruler,
also, real quick, before we move on, can I also just shout out the fact that this merch, kind of in the Valorant thing, I'll show it real quick. But bro, this shit's made in Canada.
Oh, that's really
They actually sourced Canadian merch, dude. It's sick. As well as they got the hockey jersey and the hoodie. all made in Canada. Anyway, side tangent. But yeah, shout out to Riot for supporting the country.
Just speaking of Rule, I just want to say that he currently has the most kills in a game so far. In that, I think it was game 2
He was
on Jin.
He was
got
12,
13 kills
13.
on.
It was like
on-
13
on
and 2
Jin.
or something. Yep.
Yeah.
He was
and
insane.
Just ridiculous.
I know.
Just ridiculous.
It's crazy. I think that well, let's do it. Let's run the it's obviously very early, but it's a good time to do it because of that. Who's everyone's picks for MSI? Who do you think's going to win? Call it now with like one series having been played.
I think I would be doing a disservice to Logic if I didn't say Genji.
Okay.
I'd be doing a disservice to my heart if I didn't say T1. The thing is, like, I know we have this whole narrative, and Dimitri and I have talked a lot about this, about like, oh, but you know, T1, everyone writes them off and they just do it anyway. That's true. The thing I spoke about in my Don't At Me last week is that that wasn't the case at MSI last year, right? They were T1 were between 2 Worlds wins, and they couldn't get to the grand final of MSI last year. So they've yet to. We all know that come October they just remember how good they are, and maybe it takes them a whole year to get there. But I have to go with Genji just because I haven't seen it yet from them from T1. But yeah, and that's not to write off AL either. I'm gonna go with Genji. Yeah.
All right, Devin, give me your.
Obviously, I would want FlyQuest because it
Fuck
would be
yeah.
a crazy story, obviously. But for the same reason I told my friends who were like thinking of betting on the major, I'm like, just Vitality.
Yeah.
Like it's unfortunate that it's sometimes the most obvious. Like every once in a while, like you'll get to a point where a team is just so utterly dominant heading into it, and it was just the case with Vitality. And it seems the case with this too. So I don't know why you would pick any different.
Seb.
You know, I'm kind of taking like, do you remember the original like Kingzone roster? Like
yeah.
that got like second at MSI or whatever to RNG. I'm taking back to that roster and just like remembering how dominant they were domestically before they ended up getting, you know, clapped by Uzi. And I'm kind of feeling the same way about Gen G, but at the same time, I also think that like Chovy has is developing his own plot armor right now, and I've heard some people say even in the back room that you know, this is like some of the best stretch of an individual run from like an individual player ever, even like competing with some of Faker's peaks. It's hard for me to like argue that it's not going to be Gen G, to be honest. Unless we see T1 play, and I think even when we were interviewing Chovy, we're like, they can't have an opinion on T1 because we just haven't seen them play internationally. So I just got to go with Gen G until we see them play.
So we got 3 Gen Gs. I'll give 2 reasons for mine. So I think Gen G is going to win for 2 reasons that are not just they're fucking insane. The first reason is, and people think I'm memeing when I say this, but I hope that the last 3 years have taught us this is not a meme anymore. T1 cannot win MSI because if they win MSI, they won't win Worlds. 100%, they will not win MSI. They will, because they need to lose this event so that they get discounted and written off, and then Guma fucking breaks a hip or something, and then they come back and they win Worlds. But the second reason is I think that Gen G have something now that they haven't had in the past, which is like, I think it was a really little thing in the series last night, but I think it was that was it the Jin series? Or was it the Corki series? I can't remember, where Chovy was playing Talia, and he built Archangel. It was clear that he was not going to carry this game, and Caps was like 2 levels ahead of him. And Chovy just seamlessly made this decision to basically just become a utility mid laner. To be like, I am just here to set up kills. I'm using my wall to peel for people. I'm going to use my WE and I just feel like that thing, it's almost like a Faker arc where Chovy is like, he can be the support if he needs to. He can let other people on the team carry when they carry. And I just think that is a really scary thing to have to play against. Like, we've always talked over the years about the thing that makes T1 so scary is that you don't know who's going to carry the game. You're so afraid of like shutting down that bot lane, right? Like the Guma Carrier, and then you hold tab and you're like, fucking Christ, Zeus is 6-0 on Aatrox.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, this game is over.
You're
right?
looking at the wrong
You're
lane.
looking, and it's this whack-a-mole where you think you've hit 2 and there's a third. And I think that's always what has made T1 so strong, is literally anyone can carry the game. And I think that's the thing that now Gen G have, which is I think they have this ability to, like in the game where Ruler fucking popped off on Jhin, it was Ruler, right? And
Seems
then
like
on the
Chovy's
game
maturing well beyond his years with like his ability at like his, because he's still, how old is he?
He is 24.
24. Okay, so he's older than I thought he was. I take that back.
I mean, he's
then.
in his, like, I mean, it's really hard to define in esports, obviously, but like, you know, you could say like colloquially, like, he's in his peak.
Yeah.
Like, he's at his peak, sort of like, right? Like this is from an,
I think it was
interesting that-
Canyon we interviewed that was going off about like how it is interesting how Chovy, despite being like 24, which is kind of like where you do see some of the top mid laners start to taper off, is he's still finding a new level. He's still like, and I'm like, again, like I don't want to go too deep into like the Faker comparisons, but I know that was like the narrative for a long while, is like he's, you know, getting into his mid-20s or whatever and is still finding new form and finding new ways to be impactful in the game. Dimitri makes a good point where it's like not only is he able to be like mechanically peak right now just as a mid laner against a super hard group of Koreans, but he's able to also take a step back for his team who also have incredible pop-off potential. And you know, full exposure, like I haven't, or disclosure, I haven't fully watched LCK throughout the season, just like the Rotem MSI stuff. But seeing kind of just when he's able to take a step back, and then Canyon just flops in and is just destroys the game. It was really impressive to see. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is a team where literally they have any pieces that can just completely slap you over the head and you have no idea what hit you.
I mean, it's just, Danny, like, think about the last time the game was in a state where like teams won because they had a hyper carry mid laner. I mean, fuck. Like, it's been that's just not the game anymore. Like, it just has not been that for years. Like, right? Think about the last teams, not just T1, but the last teams to win Worlds, like across the board, right? From the last 6-7 years. Like, it's like yes, is Chovy like the Connor McDavid of League? Yes. Like, he's just like the most talented human being ever to touch the game mechanically. I think so. I think most people think so. But like, you can't, like, you're just going to have games where you just get, you know, you're level and a half behind, like his Celia game last night. And you look and you're like, well, you know.
Also, one of the things we need to remember is that Chovy and 2 other members of Gen G are the defending champions. This is the title they're going to be defending from last year. And that can mean something sometimes. You know, when you go into it thinking, I'm not the usurper, this is my crown, sort of thing. And yeah, we always talk about how T1, like, oh, what, you know, how does Faker do it every year? How does T1 do it every year? Oh, it's because they know what it's like to be in the grand final, and they know what it's like to win, and they've done this. Chovy's done it now. Chovy's that guy. He knows what it's like to be in the MSI grand final and win it, and that's kind of scary. Like and that's on top of him being the most mechanically gifted player of all time. So I mean, I'm just throwing that onto the pile of reasons I think Gen G are going to take it.
It's funny that like my first script as a salaried employee was Choky.
Yeah.
And he hadn't won at that point either. And I don't think I think we like binned it because it was like he was going on a run or something like that. But it feels like I haven't even heard that in so long because he's been so dominant over the last like 2 years, 3 years. That it's just like people not bring that up anymore?
They do. I mean, he definitely, like, depending on how you define it, like, they choked at Worlds last year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he choked. I would say he got fucking diffed. And like getting diffed if you're by Faker, if you're Chovy, is like essentially the same as choking.
Yeah.
It's not disrespect to the GOAT. It's just like, you're getting diffed by a guy who just, it's the aura. Like,
That's
he just
fair.
got aura checked and Faker won. And
Yeah.
and I think for that reason, people still do, like, I don't know. I don't think Gen G, I think they're going to win the event, but I don't think that Gen G have that infallible plot armor yet. It's funny. I don't necessarily agree. Like, I think that they are, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because Ruler and Chovy are like number 1 and 2 on Faker's I have literally postered you at Worlds, and people are going to be talking about it for 15 years. But like, I just think that there's also to counter your point about the MSI that defending the title, like Ruler and Chovy are the 2 most iconic Faker posterings in fucking history, not just recent memory, right? But like, not since Faker Ryu has there been a postering that hard. And like, I don't know what happens if these guys drop like a game to FlyQuest. I don't know. Like, do they, you know what I mean? They dropped a game to G2, to be fair, and they fucking came back with a vengeance and destroyed them 3 games in a row. So I guess I answered my own question. But I don't know. I feel with Gen G that it's always been the thing with Chovy, where they just like, they look on paper, they're the best. There's no reason for them to lose. And then the going gets tough, and it looks a little bit shaky. But I mean, look, obviously last night was really convincing. I have one last thing to talk about this before we move on from MSI. But I felt it last night, and I think that a lot of people are feeling it. And I know it's a little early to ask because they're not even out yet. But guys, like, what the fuck do we do with G2 and Caps? What do we do with the LEC? What do we do with this region? What do we do? Like, I don't want to like blow it up into a whole, the gap between East and West. I just like, let's just specifically talk about this team. Why does G2 look worse than last year?
They're a year older.
What do you do? But Caps looks a year better.
Yeah.
But Caps looks a year better. Like what do we do? I'm serious, man. Like, what do we do? Does Caps go to the LPL? What the fuck do we do? Like, I just feel like I not to like shit on G2, but like,
I mean, there were those days, right? It kind of reminds me of like StarCraft days when it's like, when you outgrew the West, all you did was just like move to Korea to play in like, Korean like MSL and OSL for like StarCraft. Like, maybe that's just what Caps does, is he takes the reckless route and actually tries to like play on a Korean team. But I also like wonder, like, I don't know, like, teams are so communicative focused, team fights are so important. Laning is sort of taking a bit of a backseat to the objective based gameplay and macro, that I'm like, I think it just needs to find a good team that gels and actually sticks well together. But I don't know. The fact that FlyQuest and NA has an argument over being the LEC is very concerning.
Yeah, I just don't think that team exists in Europe or North America or in the Americas. That's the truth. It's like, he might be already at the best place to have his best shot, and it might not just be good enough.
But Koi, guys.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever talked about, like, we've had this conversation before. Like, there was this whole conversation years ago about, if you're a Western player and you're serious about winning Worlds, you need to go and live in the East, and that's just it. And if you don't do that, you're not serious. And that was just like the end of the conversation, sort of thing. But I don't know that people still feel that way, but I mean, that kind of feels like, I don't know where else Caps can go at this point, in that sense.
I also think like he wants to, I get the impression, I don't know if he's ever said this, but I get the impression that like he wants to make Europe a competitive region. Like, he wants to play for Europe. But like, you watch a series like last night, man, and you're like, I just feel like it's gotten to the point where it's literally like, I mean, Baus said it on stream about a month or two ago, Danny, where he was like, I mean, he was obviously bousing. He was memeing because it's Baus. But he's literally said, he was like, everybody who's not named Caps in the LEC is a paycheck stealer.
Yeah.
Like, he just straight up said, like, this guy is the real deal. This guy is stupidly fucking good. He's actually better than I am. He's insane. But, like, he's the only one. Like, it's Caps, and then there's just fucking nobody else. Like, everybody else. Now, that's obviously, whatever. He's memeing a little bit. But, like, I don't know, watching that game last night, I was like, it's like watching fucking Connor in the finals. I just, like, I feel so bad for this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's so good, and he's trying so hard, and, like, he just doesn't have a team, dude.
I think maybe like this, and unfortunately, I don't think there is an alternative. But it, like, the way you're describing it reminds me of basically 2020 COVID Counter-Strike in North America, where the answer to that was switching to Valorant. It was to play a different game.
Caps goes to Dota.
Not even that. Like he goes to Deadlock. But like it's one of those things where just like, is there an academy system? Like, do these teams, these European teams, have strong academy systems? Do they even exist?
They don't even have strong starting lineups, man.
That's
like,
what I mean. So just like maybe the game's just gone. Maybe it's.
Yeah. There was a period around, sort of 2018, 2019 when we had Fnatic and then G2 get to back-to-back Worlds Finals, where there was a feeling of, okay, even if we take one step back now, we're moving 2 steps forward. There is going to be a slow progression. The last 5 years, I don't think anyone thinks that anymore. It's just reverted back to, there's just an absolute canyon between the East and West. And fortunately, Caps is the tragic story caught in the middle of that. He's the poster child for this ever-growing canyon, you know.
But it's like he's the unicorn. Like he is the unicorn that exists, which is what makes it so much more painful. It would be so much easier, right? If like this narrative of like, well, if you're a Western player and you want to be serious, you have to move to Korea was true, right? But Caps is the unicorn. Like Caps is a Western player, right? Who plays in the West, scrims in the West, competes in the West, right? And he is the real deal. Like Caps is as good in the conversation of best, the 5 to 6 best mid laners in the world. Like he, for sure he is. Like he's right. Like, and has been for, half a decade. Like it's just, that's what's painful about it. Why can't we find more of him? Where are the other Capses, man?
Yeah, it is like, I find it very difficult, and I feel like this has been talked about before, even like, in our office, but like, when you think about, like, let's say traditional sports, you would never have this type of attitude towards something.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you're, like, let's look at hockey, for example. If you're, Finnish, and there's 6 great players in the NHL that are Finnish, you're like, yeah, that's fantastic. Like, yeah, they're playing in Canada, they're playing in North America. We're, like, our league we can't compare. We don't have, but that's fine. We will take stock in those 6 players that we send over. Same thing like growing up, like watching soccer and be like, oh, as long like Alphonso Davies, like we have one of the best players in the world playing in Europe. That's fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a bit different now. Canada's growing as a soccer country, but like for me, that was cool as shit.
Yep.
So just like, but in esports, it seems to be like the only kind of like professional athlete kind of situation where it's people like need their regions to be as strong as another region, no matter how impossible it is. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like, so like Caps leaves and goes to play for a Korean or a Chinese team. People are like, oh, it's over. Well, it's like Alphonso Davies plays for Bayern Munich, one of the greatest teams in the world, one of the best strikers in the world. Like, that's fucking sick. But it's like people can't. I don't know.
So get past that, yeah. I think there needs to be some kind of continental effort to create a super team. We were talking earlier about how like, no flame to Hans Sammer, but like the gap between the 2 solo carries on G2 is pretty big, right? Looking at like across the board with the stats, Upset was the best AD carry in the LEC, and he's on Fnatic, and G2 are long-time rivals. Is there an argument that those 2 famous brands, famous teams are cannibalizing themselves in the talent pool? What if you had Caps and Upset on the same team? Do you know what I mean? Is that like, is it? But then like, where does that leave the rest of the LEC? If you just pluck the best in every position to put them alongside Caps, I think Broken Blade should stay, but I'm not sure about the other positions at the moment.
I think it's also, there could be a mixture. Like, this sounds like heretical, but like you could do a thing, Danny, where you're like, Caps, in the mid lane, Upset, ADC, right? And like,
can I very quickly try and form a super team?
Do it right now.
But you finish that thought.
I was going to say,
moved on.
Now I realize I'm cheating. But like, you could, within the constraints, obviously, of the LEC rulings, you could maybe get one or two imports into that super team. Like, I don't think there's like, obviously we just want to win a fucking title. We just want to win anything international. If you have like, a support Like what Liquid did with Core JJ, right? If you have like a support, right, from the LCK or the LEC, like, or LPL rather, I don't think that's like sacrilege. Like, I think that's fine. I just think we need, it's like Team Liquid in Counter-Strike. We just need like a team. We just need a team where there is real North American representation that you look at and say, Twist's my GOAT, NAF my GOAT, right? That's NA. As long as G2 becomes like a team that has like 3 or 4 members that are actually Western players, I think that's fine. Right. But I'm with you, Danny. Like, at some point, if I'm Caps, I go to the organization and I'm like Connor goes to the Oilers and I'm like, you need to build around me. Like, I'm at the point now where like, this is not fucking fun anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to move to Korea. If you don't, like, we need to make a serious effort here. And the serious effort needs to be like, what's the team?
Connor McDavid. I'm going to move to Korea.
I'm going to the LPL. I'm going to the LCK. Danny, who's your super team?
Let's go Broken Blade, top. Let's go Aloya, jungle.
Yeah, it's a good
from
pick.
Koi. Let's have Caps in the mid, obviously. Let's have Upset from Fnatic. And then let's reunite Mickey X with Caps.
Yes.
I think that is the LEC's best shot, like the Avengers team. Maybe there could be some other arguments for jungle. Obviously, there's also Razork, Yike, you know, very decent season from them. But like, anyway, this is the kind of way the continent needs to be thinking. I think.
agree with you.
This is the only hope. This is the only hope.
I honestly, I don't think it's a meme. I don't think it's a meme to say that you're wrong. You're wrong. Yeah. Well, that's it for MSI. I mean, we should move on because I don't know. It's
been
sad.
an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And mind you, there's not really much else happening in esports right now. But although it does seem like there's stuff happening in fucking the sticks, Sebastien. Seems like you wanted to talk about the Rocket League in Raleigh.
Okay, no. Hold on. So
How are we here? I'm hosting the podcast.
Okay, hold on. No, because it's not. No. Well, first of all, I gotta ask. Did you go to the CDL championship?
No, I didn't get a chance to go to CDL.
Okay, I wish you went because you guys are all aware of like the shit that was going on with CDL and how they called it like the Toronto Major, but it was actually in Kitchener.
That's why I couldn't go. I didn't have my vaccinations to go to Kitchener.
What?
It's an old
What are you
joke,
talking
don't worry
about?
it. It's an old joke.
Okay. So basically in the same weekend, we had 2 events that were in 2, I would say, in the boonies kind of parts of their respective countries, right? Like Kitchener is like an hour or so outside of Toronto, and then you had Raleigh, North Carolina. That's in North Carolina. It's not Charlotte, whatever. It's kind of also in the boonies. And
Raleigh's not the boonies.
Raleigh's not
just
the
so we're
boonies.
clear.
Raleigh has a history of esports events.
yes, but the reason why that is because like
of subsidies. The government
subsidies
subsidizes
the
these events in
town,
North
like
Carolina.
they try and promote
they
it,
made it
right?
work.
Yeah, and they make it work,
He
right?
has a history of not being in the boonies. That's a bit of a circular argument.
The history of not being, yeah. No, because like over the past weekend, I've seen so many absolute chud takes on the idea of the CDL championship being in Kitchener. There's so many takes about it. Just it was trash. There's no one there. It's freaking inaccessible. Blah blah blah. I have a whole ass notebook of like all the arguments as to why these kids are wrong, right? And
You gotta love
basically, no, because like, listen,
Well, bro, when you're
I
from
went to this
Windsor,
event.
Yeah.
it's all uphill from
It's like
there.
Paris.
I went to this event. They treated us very well, right? The community was really amazing. This was like by far and away legitimately one of the best esports events that I went to. Not just because of the fact that it was like really well organized. I didn't have to break my arm off just to pay for a hamburger like I would in the ACC. Everything felt like it was in its own section, right? So like you had a Bell section, you had the Monster section, all the energy, whatever. But the mainly big part of it was like the stage was really well done. The whole venue was done and it was cheap. And keep in mind that one of the arguments for this just not being a good event from all of these Call of Duty kids who are like, oh, it should have been in New York, it should have been in Texas, should have been in Boston or Toronto or whatever. It was made accessible. They had like these buses, that shuttles that would go from Union Station all the way over to Kitchener, and no one used them. Devin, why are you laughing? Okay, sorry. What's going on?
No, just everything. It just sounds like shit. Everything you're describing.
But it's like, it really irks me because like,
Bro,
the
They
thing
had
that
a bus that you could get on for an hour and a half from Union Station to go to Kitchener. Listen,
yeah.
the thing is, I understand what you're trying to say. Is that like it was cheap? They were able to do this. They could probably maybe made some money, but like the thing
was
that's always
subsidized.
going to, and the production value is great. Honestly, I think they could probably do that anywhere. It's, these are talented people that are putting on these productions. The issue is that as from a fan perspective, you're always going to look at, like, I wasn't even here last week when you guys talked about, but you guys had the discussion about like Riot versus Counter-Strike events where like every single game is in front of a live studio audience, whereas like Counter-Strike reserves that usually just to the playoffs, and then you get that kind of like sold out 10,000 plus arena moments, right?
Yep.
And so people are always going to pick at that when behind the teams there's like 6 people sitting in the audience, and 4 of them work for the production company, and like, you could also make the argument is if it was in downtown Toronto, would you even be able to, like, would that sell out?
Well, that's the thing, is that they used to run it in Mattamy. And I speak from experience when I say that, like, on the Thursdays and, like, the Fridays, no one was filling those seats. Like, the argument isn't consistent because they're using, like, the idea that it was empty on, like, the Thursday and Friday and somehow just deeming the whole event as a failure. Same for Raleigh. Yet, you can, in one of the tweets that we have, like, it's full by the end of Sunday, Optic wins, and it goes crazy. My main thing is, like, Call of Duty is not a tier 1 esport. Rocket League is not a tier 1 esport, as much as I would love it to be. You do not have the luxury as fans to demand that you're somehow going to be put in a city like New York or Toronto, like an IEM New York or an IEM Toronto or Dallas, whatever, and then suddenly, think that you're going to be able to fill all those seats, that you're going to be able to afford the venue and all the costs.
That's where I agree with you. That's where I agree with you, is whereas like if it's in Toronto, New York, or a major city, and they don't fill it, which they probably wouldn't, you're taking such a much bigger hit.
Yeah.
It's not that Call of Duty isn't a popular game. It's about getting butts in seats, which like is like high, like you there's only a few select amount of games that have that type of ability. League of Legends and Counter-Strike being pretty much the only two.
I mean,
Valorant,
Dimitri,
another
you
one.
went to
Valorant in Toronto was a perfect thing because it's a Zoomer Gen A city, and then they just threw an event here and it worked. But I think what's interesting is for these games, I think they have like basically 2 solutions. They just go really small and do them in like legitimate studios, where there's like maybe seating for like 50, and just say fuck it, we're just gonna like make this production value really good, and it's just gonna be like the hardest of hardcore fans. Or you do what the double IHF did, which is junior hockey for anyone that's interested, where they said, okay, we've done it in Slovenia this many times, where there's 46 people in the audience because that's who lives in this, town that we're doing it in, or we just do it in like Boston, Montreal, Toronto, and it sells out every single game. So why don't you just they have to know what city, they have to means test and do market research and find out what city is going to sell out and just do it there every single time.
I think the problem is like they did this probably, I say probably because I don't know, but like probably did this for the COD event. Mm-hmm. They were like, if we do this in Toronto, it'll sell out. And then they like planned for that. And then they were like, wait, it costs how much?
Yeah.
Kitchener's like just outside Toronto,
yeah.
right? We can, if
real
we
estate.
Kitchener, we can like,
I think,
because they looked at the prices and they were just like, huh?
Yeah,
right?
I think it's
just,
possible,
especially
because
it's
people
over
in Toronto
time, it's
will
gone
go to
up
anything.
so much, right? Like real estate costs have gone up insane. I don't think there's any denying that. I think if COD really cares, they throw it in Texas because Optic's there. You just have the whole fan base there. If you're Rocket League, you throw it in France, right? Anywhere in France, you'll be able to fill up. That's what they're doing for the World Championship. But like, Man, the tweet that Scrap put out, he was like, "How's it feel to like run the worst event or whatever?"
Yeah, I saw this one. I can
And
bring
I'm
it up,
like,
yeah.
"Good, sure, but let's not forget, you're hosting the worst event anyone in the venue has ever been to. Also, hopefully, you're not giving out parking tickets to your players still for parking at the facility." Don't know what the hell that was about, but everyone that I spoke to at the COD event, uh, was having a phenomenal time. Was like surprised that
I
they're
have the
like,
thing on my
"Yo,
screen if you want to bring it up.
this was like a lot better than I thought it was going to be, considering that it was in Kitchener." And I'm really, the only reason why I have this whole section here is because I'm really tired of people like being incredibly entitled for esports events when it's like a supreme luxury to have in 2025, have an event that runs well, that you're not, if you're not like a Riot or like a Valve run game.
Well, I think
Yeah.
people are also frustrated it bleeds over because people are also frustrated that they are a Valve game and like Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And every North American like I'm really glad we had a North American major again. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
right? But like, we're never getting the Boston major again. We're never getting a New York event ever again. We're
I am
never
New
getting
York.
it because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And you can, if you do it in North Carolina, if you do it in Texas, the government subsidizes it.
Yeah.
So you can get these like really, hence why you get Blast. What's it called?
They're doing a Blast Fort Worth.
Yeah, and then there's a reason they're all in Texas, and the
Yeah.
reason Siege does all their events in North Carolina, right? Not a bad thing. I've been
Yeah.
to Raleigh. I went to Raleigh for the major for Siege. It was great, lovely.
Yeah.
But like, great city. But like, it's just there is a reason, and we're never gonna get like the fact that Riot held the Valorant event in Toronto, and the fact they're holding MSI in Vancouver is because it's Riot, and they have Riot money.
Yeah.
And they to them, it is a point of prestige. It's
Yeah.
a point of honor that like their events are held in like London, England. That they're held, and then the next year they're held in like Seoul, South Korea, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or Tokyo, Japan, or Paris, France. Like
Yeah.
they want that prestige. Like we do it, and the city comes first. Whatever the cost, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody else can really afford to do that.
The other thing too with people like you said, you were there. You said everything. I haven't been able to look at the tweets, but like it seemingly ran without a hitch as far as like production goes. Like, and everything was great in that sense. Those are two different things then. Are people, like I said, this is saying it's like the worst of, how does it feel to do the worst event ever when it's just, oh, we didn't sell a lot of tickets. That's like a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
That's not like we put on the worst event ever. Like if the event went without a hitch, but then there just wasn't a lot of people there, that's just about the location of it.
It's not
has
something
nothing to do
production
with
issues.
Yeah,
or,
of like, it's stupid. And I could
agree.
still understand people getting mad that it's in Kitchener instead of like
so-
downtown Toronto. I understand
I
that.
shouldn't like disclaimer this. It's like the main one of the main gripes when we wrote a short on it was that they originally marketed it as like I think Champs Toronto or whatever.
Yeah,
that's wrong. Totally get that. That is like not okay. They should have actually just put it in Kitchener. And just said it was like in Kitchener or even just Canada. And it was to the point where the commentators, and I know this because a couple of them are my friends, the commentators got an email one day and was like, you can't say that this Champs is in Kitchener. It's only in Canada or Ontario, Canada. And I was like, oh my God, that poor town. Jesus.
I don't know if this is like strictly a Toronto thing, but like that is just Toronto. Like Rockstar Toronto is in Oakville.
Yeah.
TPC Toronto, where they just did the Canadian Open, is in like Caledon. Like it's just Toronto Pearson Airport is in Mississauga and Brampton.
Ubisoft Toronto is in Toronto, isn't it?
Ubisoft Toronto
Yeah.
is in Toronto. It's like Lansdowne Station.
Yeah.
Wallace Avenue, yeah.
But it's just like it's the same thing with people from Brampton, Mississauga saying that they're from Toronto, because like the city is just all encompassing, and no one knows these smaller places that everyone just says it, right? Because it's just like, oh, we're close enough so we can say it, and no one knows what the fuck Kitchener is, so we're just gonna say Toronto the same way that TPC Toronto is not in Toronto.
Yeah, but there's obviously a limit, right? Like, you like Kitchener, man. Like Kitchener is like
Kitchener, that's what I mean. I do agree that that's a limit, but
Yeah.
like there's probably just as egregious examples out there that aren't like these are
Yeah.
places that aren't even in the GTA, and they're like, oh yeah, it's blank Toronto because it is a premier city.
I think that's the line, though, isn't it? When you say GTA, that like the greater metropolitan area of a city, like anywhere within that bubble, fine. Anywhere that genuinely is a different postcode or like a genuinely
Yeah.
different city or whatever you want to call it, that's there is a line that I think everyone can eventually agree upon.
And you know it when you see it. Like if it's an hour and a half drive, which it is in the case of Kitchener, right?
That's too much.
An hour and a half drive. You know what I mean? Like that's
And
not
it's
like,
like
oh, it's
on
only
a
30
highway.
minutes to take the subway down to the whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very far. It's a university town. It's like far outside
Yeah.
the city, right? And like anyway, I actually in a sense, like I know it's easy to rag on them for the Champs Toronto thing, but like I actually in a sense feel bad for them because like they tried. They tried to do an event in Toronto, and I shouldn't say they tried. They successfully ran an event. I just mean that they probably said Toronto would be a great location. We should do Toronto, and then they kind of put the cart before the horse. And then when the actual they started looking at venues.
Yeah.
They were like, they looked at Enercare and whatever is Rico the
Yeah,
Coca-Cola
Rico Coliseum.
Coliseum?
I think they changed the
Coca-Cola.
name, yeah.
It's just like you look at these prices. And
Bro, they
you're
couldn't
like,
even do it at the fucking Hershey Center if they wanted to.
I don't know, man.
That
that
you
would've been-
can't do, and there's
Prices
so
are
many reasons
insane.
for it. Real estate, unions, unfortunately.
It's a lot of shit that goes
There's a
into it.
lot.
It's also
you know?
we'll move on because we were talking about this the other week. But like, there's also a reason why concert tickets in Toronto are as insane as they
Yeah.
are. It's not just esports. Like
Yeah.
Toronto in general, like is a woefully expensive city when it comes to doing anything. Right. Anyway, speaking of a shit ton of money, this fucking story that Seb posted here is like. And so, did you guys hear about this Fortnite cheater who got absolutely
I heard they got sued.
brother? This is lunacy. So I have the tweet on my screen here. I don't know if we can bring it up on the over top of Seb's face.
I got opinions on this, by the way.
Dude, this is nutty. So what happened was Fortnite, like Fortnite competitive, so like I guess whoever it is who Epic, right? Sued a player who cheated in one of their tournaments. So they filed the suit, and then what happened was they won the suit, and the player has to pay $175,000,
Wow.
which Epic have said they're gonna donate to charity. They're also banned from playing Fortnite forever, as if that fucking matters after being 175 large in the hole.
No, that does matter, because how's he going to make it back?
Imagine the fucking...
There's no double jeopardy. Just
Brother,
like, I'm just going to fucking keep cheating.
Imagine the twit longer he makes where he's like, I'm moving to Valorant.
Yeah.
So this is obviously kind of, on the one hand, Giga Chad. Like the most badass thing in the fucking world, right? On the other hand, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, do you feel like this is like overkill?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Like do we know how old this player is, Seb?
I think he's pretty young. If I remember correctly, I remember him being pretty young. Like definitely like not in college yet. Yeah,
Like if they just
pretty young.
ruined a kid's financial future because he cheated in a video game?
Yeah, like here's the thing. Like the biggest argument that I see people making is that he did it when other people had money on the line. Like this wasn't just like him cheating in like a pug, or like just in matchmaking. This was like him cheating at an event where money was on the line. So other people's chances at winning, getting a monetary prize was on the line. So that's the point of this, which I understand that, but like, it's a lot of money.
That's a shit.
That's
And
a lot
like
of money.
I don't know. It's really tough because like what I'm trying to think of something that's like remotely similar. Like if someone was using like steroids in like the NCAA and won a championship, like the fucking Astros won the World Series fully cheating and everybody knew. And it still feels like this is like a bigger hit to an individual person than anything I've ever seen in like traditional sports, like cheating repercussions. Here's the thing. It's one of those things where like I don't feel bad, but it does seem a little crazy.
Well, so here's the thing, right?
And also, sorry, one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Them like tweeting like that is like also kind of crazy. We're like, this just in guy, it's like the official Fortnite account. We just fucking ruined this person's
Yeah,
life.
like
Quote tweeting their old tweet. Like they were scrolling,
Yeah.
like excited, like got a funny tweet.
I'm like, all right, like sue them, do whatever, but like, come on.
Yeah.
it's also like the fact that they made it sound as if it was like don't get me wrong. Like we as gamers, right? We talk about this all the time. Like love watching cheaters get get fisted. Like
Yeah.
it's great. You know what I mean? So official accounts will do stuff like this. Will be like, you know, like this person tried to get away with it. They didn't, right? That's one thing when you're like banning them from a game, or you're like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, our anti-cheat caught, you know, X tens of thousands of people last month. Boom. You know what I mean? Like get some, right?
Yeah.
Get faced. Like they like did this in this like playful get owned, bro.
Yeah.
Eat $175,000. Like it was like we just ruined a kid's life. Sick. Isn't that sick?
And that's
guys?
the thing. It's the thing where like I don't feel bad because I would never do something like that. So like it's like when someone like gets canceled, for example. I'm like I'd never feel bad because I'm like I always say I'm like would I do that if I was in their position? No. Okay, I don't feel bad then. I don't give a fuck.
It's not.
Because
It's not hard to not be a creature.
Exactly.
So-
it isn't. But at the same time, and the fact that it's like they're donating it like immediately to charity just means like they don't need the money either.
Yeah.
It could have been $10,000, and it wouldn't make a
Yeah, so-
difference to them.
So that begs the question then, like, what do you guys think is like a reasonable punishment for
Community service.
cheating in a tournament and, you know,
So-
getting caught?
So there is one answer to this, which is I'm trying to find it, but I don't know how I would ever find this because who the fuck in God's green earth follows competitive Fortnite? But like, how much do you win from these tournaments? Because here's the thing I'll say. Let's say we found out that a CS pro was cheating tomorrow. Finding them $175,000 is not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's nothing. You get $170,000 for winning like one prestige.
That is
event,
true. If this
right?
guy's like already a millionaire,
This is what I was gonna say. If you win Cologne one time from that one tournament, your cut of like the milli prize pool is like $200K, right? So like finding $170,000 is like you know, that's annoying.
what's this person's name?
I don't have. a
I
name.
don't think he's anywhere near like a pro. If I remember correctly, I think it might just be something along the lines of like he might have just been cheating in like a cash cup, which is basically like open tournaments essentially.
See, that's insane.
You know,
That's insane.
I could be wrong in that. I don't want to speak too wrong, but like
It was
yeah, I don't think they're like some
$6,800.
top pro.
Is what he won.
$6,850.
See, this is what I'm saying. Like this feels
Yeah.
like I'm actually what I'm the most surprised about, to be completely honest, is like what fucking like what information did the judge have, right? Like I know I'm like taking this outside of esports now, but like what information did the judge have that they were like, I think it's reasonable that this like 17-year-old kid should have to be in the whole 175,000, however old this person is. I don't know how old they are, right? But like in the whole 175 grand, right?
Yeah, it does make you wonder if they are fully up to speed with esports, or if this is another example of the mainstream world being a bit out of step. And maybe they've, I don't know what their criteria is. Maybe they just looked at, I don't know, the market value of the game they were playing,
Maybe-
and then tried to extrapolate from there what the player fine should be. I'd be
Yeah,
so
Epic
interested to see
lawyers
their
go crazy, bro.
workings on it, you know.
What
I think
is that?
also it seems like some of it was like the fact that they were yeah, it was for DMCA and copyright.
So what I was gonna say
Yeah.
is that what probably happened is that Epic probably came at them after them for damages.
Yeah.
So they probably specified a certain amount for damages and said, this is how much this cost our company. This is how much, because it's our tournament, into integrity of our product, of we have to like undo certain things. We have to whatever. Like you come at them for damages and say it's ultimately because of this we suffered $175,000 of a loss or something in that neighborhood, or maybe
Yeah.
they suffered 150 and they want 175 for good faith, for good measure, right? I don't know. Obviously, I'm just kind of speculating, but like. A lot of people in the comments I'm a little surprised because of how raw esports communities are around against cheaters.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the comments are like, this is fucked.
Yeah.
Like you've like ruined a kid's like life.
Yeah.
Like, and not in a, I don't want to say playful, but like not in a playful way in the sense of like, you know, you're perma-banned from our event, which he
Yeah.
is, as it turns out, consequently.
Or doing something like you're banned for like 3,000 years.
Yes,
as
something
like a meme.
right, exactly, right.
Yeah.
Like, but this is like $170,000 is like, you know, I don't know how they're gonna siphon this out of their like this kid is literally until he's like in his mid 40s.
Yeah, I don't know
like
how,
siphoning
I don't know
money
how
out
it
of his
works.
paychecks.
Because there's like people that like
Well,
you know
could-
accidentally start a forest fire and then like you know cause like hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages.
Yeah.
I don't know how that shit works, but it happens more than you would think.
Yeah.
Where like someone burns down a building by accident. And they're found criminally responsible for it, and then like yeah, it's like an outrageous amount of money at a young age. Like, there's probably some sort of like it's probably just like financial assistance that you have to be on for the rest of your life. And before
Yeah.
when people say like, oh, well, then what is the proper punishment? Community service. I don't know how. I don't know how that
Community
gets
service within the game somehow.
not within the game, like literally just with it, like somewhere. Like even if it's like,
You have to solo queue jungle for 10 years.
No, I
Every
literally
day.
mean picking up trash off the side of the road.
No, fuck that.
Like
That's
something-
that's not nearly mean enough. You have to solo queue jungle every day for 10
I just mean
fucking
like
years.
something useful because like, yeah, sure, like $175,000 to Child's Play or whatever, you know, getting toys for kids.
Are they even going to get that money? That's the thing. Are they even going to be able to recoup $175,000 from this kid?
Sure. No, because if the judge
Well,
literally
so here's the
specifies
thing,
that
it's
you
like-
have
it's like
25
in
years to
other-
pay this back, then yeah.
Right. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying to Devin's point, like it seems like it'd be more worthwhile to do something more immediate.
Yeah, just
now,
immediate, like
rather than
clean
be
the trash off the road.
Well, in 40 years, you might pay the last few dollars back. Like,
Yeah,
Jesus.
that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it's such a it's gonna be so incremental that like it doesn't actually
Yeah.
like
Seb, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, so like I'm thinking of like previous punishments we've seen for like match fixers and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, you might get like a fine or something like that, or in most cases you'll just be banned from the game, like you're a Brax or whatever. And in that case, it's like that section, that part of your life, playing Fortnite, playing CS, whatever, is just completely removed, right? But this fine, because you cheated in a tournament, whether or not they won for like $6,800, you're literally, you can't get away from that now. That whole mistake is literally following you for life, as if it is a fucking criminal sentence crime. Like it is wild to me that like that's just something that's going to be following them despite being a kid for life until they're like 40, because who knows what they're going to be able to do for work, and it might affect their employment, right? So I don't know, man. I worry for that guy, to be honest. Yeah, that's fucked.
I'll say one thing, and this is like a little bit of a turn of the screw here, but I'll say one thing, which is before we let Seb go. But like, I'll say this: it does set a pretty fucking insane precedent.
sure.
And I think that if you are, you know, an Epic, if you are any esport organizer, right, looking into the next 40 years of the game and your product and your right, like, you know, in football, in basketball, in baseball, they take cheating pretty fucking seriously,
Yeah,
right?
someone had
And
to
like,
be an example.
and I hate to say it, but like, and maybe this was not the best way to do it, but like clearly what they were interested in was saying like, we have a legal precedent to be like,
Yeah.
if you do this, you're fucked.
Yeah,
It's
for the
like
rest of your
cheating
life.
on an exam at university. Like, they're not going to sit you down in that registrar's office and be like, well, you're 18, you're 19, you didn't know any better. I'd be like, no, you're fucking expelled.
Yeah.
Like you're gone. Like, and this, right? Like, this is like, you made a mistake, and it's a serious one. It's a costly one. And I think that these developers are sick of like their product, right? Being put into jeopardy like this because someone, oh, I didn't know though. I'm just a kid.
Yeah,
I didn't, right? Like,
I agree with that sentiment. If it's just like, you know, like I said, like I don't feel bad because I would never do this.
No, yeah.
So just like it's one of those things where I do agree. Maybe the precedent needed to be set. Would have been great for people going into it knowing what it was going to be, so they didn't make that mistake in the first place.
it is unfortunate that we also said that 10 years ago with the iBuyPower guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that
but-
they also had that very valid excuse of like, well, if we had known, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, that like this was going to be right. Anyway, well, that's it. Seb, we don't keep it any longer, buddy, but thanks for calling in to your own podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go hit up another roastery at some point because you know that's what I need. I need more coffee beans to bring home. By the way, I'll bring you guys some if you guys want, and
Sure.
I'll get the French press loaded up for next time I'm in.
Next week, buddy.
All right,
All right, buddy.
I'm not in next week. Well, actually, you should say that we'll probably have Wetzler in next week, so that'll be nice, and he'll be able to
Wetzy?
talk more in depth about
In
League
deep?
than I can. So
Indeed.
indeed. All right,
All
peace,
right.
boys.
Thanks, buddy.
See ya.
See ya. So, because we are Counter-Strike fans and have to make every episode, we have to find a way to make every episode about Counter-Strike, at least somewhat, right?
Of course.
1 sec, I have to move this before I keep talking. Just for okay, because you have to find an opportunity to make every episode at least somewhat Counter-Strike related. You saw this Rain video that went out, the bait.
The one about how I know they said that like he has to talk to his wife and stuff like that about like the next 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm asking because like, is there a fucking world where FaZe get rid of Rain?
I think he retires.
Has to retire.
Yeah.
It's like
I think that was him saying when it's his time, when they find a replacement, he's just gonna retire.
yeah.
I think that was kind of like what he was saying, because it's like, oh, I need to like spend time with my family, and I've had a long conversation with my wife about my future. So I think that basically means that like, yeah, he'll probably retire a phase.
He has to retire a
phase.
a clan.
Yeah, a phase.
Because I feel like this is the closest thing in esports. Like, there are examples, right? Like, obviously, Faker will never play for another team. Like, there's no fucking world in which Faker ever dons the jersey of a team that's not T1, right?
He's also a part owner.
He's a part
owner.
owner,
That
right?
plays into these things sometimes.
Which happens in esports, and people still get traded. Elige was a part owner in Team Liquid.
Yeah.
And he got.
Oh, okay.
They like just made him a part owner. And then it happens. But Faker's just one of those examples of an athlete who's just like, it's like Crosby. Like he'll never be washed. He'll never not be worth, right? And he's just earned the right. But I'm saying, I think FaZe, like with Rain, is like, that's the only thing in Counter-Strike we have, man, that's like even close. Right? My one hot take, though, is also I think that Crosby will finish his career somewhere else.
You think Crosby's going to finish his career somewhere else?
Yeah.
Leafs?
Montreal.
That would be sick. I'd love to see
It
that.
would be cool. Fuck Montreal.
Yeah, fuck Montreal, but I would love to see that.
As a sports team.
Yeah. Everything else on Montreal's goated.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think, here's a better question. Do you think that FaZe fix anything if they replace Rain? Like, if Rain decides he wants to retire because he has, like, it'll be 2 children now, right? Obviously, like, that's fine. That's completely okay. Man's won a slam. He's won a major, right? Extremely decorated player. That's fine. But, like, if FaZe go to him and they're like, look, brother, it's time, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's just like,
Do you gain anything from that?
I keep thinking that's going to happen with both him and Kerrigan, just like given their age. But they just keep producing.
Well, hold on. First of all, because you just opened up another can. Who on God's green earth is going to replace Kerrigan?
No one.
There's no one to
That's what I
replace
mean.
him.
Like but like the thing is, it's like they're even like, because I feel like when it comes to IGLs or not IGLs, but older players, the easiest thing to point to is just like their output, like their fragging output, rather than like their game sense, because that stuff usually doesn't go away. The game sense and the dedication. And it's usually like the fragging output, where it's just like they literally just aren't getting enough kills a match. It's just like the thing you said about oppers, where like you need to get like a set amount of kills with the op in a map to justify your
the big green.
Your existence on the team.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the same for like older players, where like your veteran status, your experience, all that stuff, it needs to be like, you need to at least get a certain, but I just think they're still have output. Like Rain will just like randomly be the top fragger, like
all the time. Kerrigan also, like, I mean, we have a short. I feel like we have a bit of a drought right now with IGLs in CS. Like, I just feel like you couldn't really replace Rain if you wanted to. It just feels like he's and I feel like the problems that FaZe have, and like the reason they're not like, winning the major is not because of Kerrigan's calling, or because, like, you know what I mean? That's not that he doesn't have calls here and there that are not great, or maps that they don't, whatever. But like, I don't think like I think if anyone thinks the glaring problem with FaZe Clan is Kerrigan, that's like insanity.
No, I don't think anyone does.
Yeah.
But I think that like something about the team needs to change, obviously. And it seems like they're not getting simple. And I saw someone say that Brokey's coming back.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because they don't have any other options. But also that
No, hold on. They could bring back Olaf. Did you see that thing from the major? It was where they did the video with Simple, and they had him like tier listing like players in CS history, and so he went to put Olaf in like C tier or something. He said he's like, sorry Olaf, but he like put him in C tier, and like he was doing it with Frozen, and Frozen was like, bro, like you like he's like, you're on FaZe now, like you can't do that. And Simple kind of looks at him, and Frozen's like, he's still on the bench, like technically. and Simple literally just looks, he looks at me, goes, still? He's like, what, like, still? It's been however many fucking years, right? And he's like, bro, they could bring him back. Olaf is never washed. Olaf could save that team. Anyway, that's pretty much it. The only thing with CS is the Sentinels' interest, but I don't think there's anything really to talk about.
It's so funny how this sort of major being in North America has like set off this like, oh, now we're interested.
Yeah, I know.
Like
yeah.
after seeing like the fucking mayor of like
Yeah.
or like senators go on and be like, we need to, I forget who the guy they were talking about with what his position in Texas is, but like basically like saying that like their commitment to like subsidizing esports and blah 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 in Austin or in Texas, and it is cool, but it's like created this sort of like astroturf kind of like not care, but like interest, I guess.
Yeah.
In it, where it just doesn't seem organic. It doesn't seem and my biggest examples are like Nadeshot and like his case opening spree.
Yeah.
And how just like I just think it's like so corny to just like hop back in this game and just be like, I'm gonna spend open
$45,000 worth of cases.
yeah, it just like and then like Valkyrie, or I don't know if that was if she was the one who's like, I wonder if I'll get a gold in less amount of time than he did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can we not fucking do this? Like, sure, it's cute when Onipixel and Arrow, people that are like enthusiasts
Yeah.
of skins and have been enamored in this game forever, and will open like 100 cases. But it's just like seeing someone and with all like the rumble kick like gambling shit, and just seeing like that's what you are doing now, right? Obviously, like you don't care.
I thought I got a sour taste when it was like when I saw the sheer number of cases that he opened. I was like, there's a difference between being like, oh man, I can't get a gold, it's crazy, it's a 1 in 400 chance, and I've opened fucking 380 cases, and my god, right? But like I saw the number, I don't even know what his tally was. I think it was he opened a Marble Fade Karambit after $45,000. I'm also assuming that was US dollars.
Yeah.
Like I just like I looked at that and I was like, that's kind of gross. Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah, like I don't want to.
It brings a weird vibe to the function. You know
yeah,
what
like
I mean?
I don't want
It's
to
like,
hate on it because it's such like a part of like Counter-Strike where like people
but it isn't the only.
yeah,
part,
people
man.
for a decade have been doing case opening streams.
Of course.
Maybe not to that level. I don't know if anyone's ever done what Nadeshot has done before. I correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think anyone's ever done that. And it's just like someone coming from like a completely different background, a like Call of Duty esports org owner.
Yeah, I mean they owned a CS team at one point.
Owned a CS
right?
team for
Yeah,
sure.
He's played on stream.
And like if
but-
that means he's going to come back to CS, is him that's him testing the waters, and 100 Thieves is going to get a team out of this.
Yeah.
Fuck it, sure, whatever,
Sure.
it's worth it. But then like now you're getting like all these people kind of like jumping in on the trend, be like, oh, I've never really played this game before. I'm gonna open a bunch of cases to see if I can get this gold. I'm just like.
I know, and I can't tell if it's good or bad. Like on the one,
Yeah,
hand,
like I don't want to gatekeep it because
Yeah,
it's not
it's
something
not
that
about that.
It's
It's
not even
just-
something that I do. It just feels weird because like we have such a bizarre relationship with skins where it's like it is degeneracy. It's seen as like something you shouldn't do, but like people do it, and we also like cheer it on when we do see people spend ludicrous amounts of money trying to open cases.
It's also just insane that like I can watch him open $45,000 worth of cases, but like, and I don't watch him stream, so like maybe he
Yeah.
did. But like does it like, but like I can't watch him pug.
That's what I mean.
You know
I'm
what I
like,
mean?
are
Like,
they
it's
going to
like-
play
it's-
the
yeah,
game?
Yeah, exactly. Like it just feels so weird. It just
that's-
feels so like it's one thing if One does it. It's one thing because like again, there are streamers, there
Yeah.
are players, right? But like, it just feels so weird.
Yeah, if you want to get into the game and you're going to do that just because you have the money to blow, fuck it. But you're like legit going to commit to, because then what are you doing it for?
I
Then it
know.
is purely just the gamba, rolling the slot machine. That's
Does
like,
it feel weird to you, Danny, because you're not a non-CS person? Like I never thought of it until you mentioned it just now, which is like, and it made the connection for me, and maybe that's why it felt kind of gross. Is like there is just already right now this like weirdness around gamba and like streaming, like just and the kick shit and stake and whatever the fuck it's called, and like it's just like such a like weird thing, and that to see like someone be like, oh, like I'm gonna do some CS streams. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna like Double Lift wakes up tomorrow and he's like, yeah, I'm a little bored of League. I'm gonna play some Counter-Strike this week. And his version, let's say, of playing Counter-Strike is like, I'm gonna open $40,000 worth of cases. It's like kind of, I don't know. Like, do you see that and actually just think to yourself, because you know what lunatics Counter-Strike fans are? Do you see that and just think to yourself, oh, I mean, that's just Counter-Strike. That's just a weird fucking ecosystem.
Yeah, I guess for me, I kind of picked up from you guys over the years how these two aspects of the game are not separate. they are almost inseparable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like there is no one who just plays Counter-Strike and doesn't open cases, and there's no one I imagine that has only ever opened cases, never actually played a round of
Exactly.
Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
They're not
I mean,
mutually
maybe
exclusive.
there's a few anomalies to that rule, but so they are inseparable. So yeah, I mean, it is technically Counter-Strike. Like, it's not like they would get kicked off the Twitch category page if it was just someone doing it.
Maybe that's why we hate it.
I mean,
This is like therapy.
Listen,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of adjectives to describe it as a stream. Like, that's boring, gimmicky, potentially dangerous. Gross in some ways. I don't know. Yeah, but is it? I mean, the question you're asking me is like, would that be weird to see it on a Counter-Strike stream? No, because it's part of the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe that's why we hate it. Because
I guess.
yeah, you know.
But like it's I think the thing is just like play the game, like actually enjoy the game. And I mean, people could do whatever the fuck they want.
They can, and also like I'm saying, I don't know, man. CS2 kind of fucking sucks. Like I don't know if it like.
I'm enjoying myself personally.
Are you playing again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been playing again recently, and whatever. We're not fucking get into it.
I op though. Do you still op?
No, I can't op in that game anymore.
I've gotten used to it, where it's
I
like
can't
literally
do it.
the only thing I do is I scout and I op, and I can't use anything else.
Scout I find is very strong because
Yeah.
the peeker's advantage really makes that gun good. But I
Yeah.
think opping in that game is like, I don't know. What are you gonna say, Dan?
well, I was going to ask you guys if it was a case where like all of the skins and case unboxing and stuff was done through completely a third party piece of software, different login details. Just like imagine that world. It wasn't done through the official. Like Valve was just like, we've just given you a shooter game. That's it. What would this conversation look like if that was the case? Like, is it the fact that you put in one set of login details and it's under one company that kind of shapes this conversation?
I just think that like, and I don't want to like grandstand and like sound too, corny when I say this, but like, there's history to these skins, and to these cases, and to the items that you're trying to get, and the purpose to get them is to have them in game, so that when you manage to do something interesting in the game, when you manage to get a play, when you increase your skill through playing, you have these items that feel good to use while you're improving.
Yep.
I'm getting better and better. I'm justifying the fact that I have this $5,000 op because I'm improving at this game and I care about it. And every time I hit a clip with this $5,000 skin, it feels good because that's a part of me. I crafted it the way that I like, and I'm hitting clips and sending them to my friends. But it's just like when you're just unboxing them not to play them, it's just like it's just a gotcha then, or it's just your what are the things they have in like Japan, where you like open it, like the blind boxes.
Yeah.
It's just a blind box, and which is fine, I guess, because like, I guess that's just what it is.
It's like you said earlier, like people can do what they want, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe the problem is that like if they were just doing it off stream, no, I don't think anyone would have an issue with that. You'd be like, oh, that guy's a bit weird. Like he never plays the game, he just unboxes. But when it's being broadcast, does that make you feel a bit gross? Like the fact that that's just the game now?
Yeah, I think it's also just like, not that there's any lack of fans of Counter-Strike where we have to be worried. Like if Counter-Strike was struggling, this would feel even grosser if this is the way that to get North Americans interested in the game was through this, just opening cases. But like, it's not like Nadeshot doing this is going to make or break Counter-Strike's future. He's just doing it because it gets views, and it's been a while since anyone's really done this, and everyone's talking about it right now because of the Austin Major, so I'll just do it, and it'll be great views, and maybe I can gauge how much people are interested in us dipping our toe back into Counter-Strike. But, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. It's a weird thing. It is like and it is a weird thing. Like it's a thing that's like idiosyncratic to CS, right? I don't know. It's weird.
Because there is no other game really where you can go in unless you're. I mean, I guess there like an example would be like FIFA Ultimate Packs is like the closest thing I can think of where like, that game is almost like, the same thing where there's two parts to the game. When, as far as stream, there's people that are playing it, showing like their crazy moments, their crash outs when they're playing, and the other half is just people opening packs and like freaking out when they get like a legendary. I don't know what the fuck it would be called, a gold, Messi, whatever it would be. It feels similar to that.
I wondered that's because that was how it was intended on launch. Like it really was. There was the what was happening on the pitch, and there was the cards, and they were like. But the sense I'm getting is that there's been a slow shift towards some people doing more and more unboxing until you got to the point where it's just unboxing, and that feels weird because that wasn't what it was like. For
it's
most
like
of CS history.
Because like you unbox and you get a gold, and that infinitely makes your team better, right? Like, or you get that card that's broken, and you're like, all right, now I'm just gonna farm. Whereas just like in Counter-Strike, it's like you're opening the cases. Okay, now I'm logging off and ending the stream. Like I got these skins, I'm looking at them in game. Maybe I'll join a death match. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he is playing, but to my knowledge,
I don't know. Maybe he is. I actually have not watched. I don't watch him stream, so maybe he is. But
it was less about what he was doing, and it was all these people jumping on, and kind of being like, "Oh, I want to do this too," and I was just like, "I don't really think you should."
It was like a couple of years ago now that like maybe it was in preparation for Valorant coming out. I can't remember, but like Pokimane did I want to do Counter-Strike streams, and she was like, "I'm gonna learn Counter-Strike with like Stu and Tark."
Yeah.
It was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Really entertaining. She like it was like, and she just came in and was like, and I think she like she did some, obviously because it's part, like you said, it's part of Counter-Strike. She bought 20 cases. 30 cases. I don't know the exact number, but like a healthy number of cases.
Yeah.
And was like, there is a pink M4 here that I really want. I'm gonna open it and try to see if I can get that M4. And cool. And then I'm gonna go play.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And like I just feel like I just saw it and I was like, this is just like,
it's almost like gluttonous.
Bro, I mean, let's just call it the obvious, which is like $45,000 worth of fucking cases is like lunacy.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And I don't think I don't think it's gonna be like drive a kid to be like, I'm gonna do the same thing. Like I don't think it's that level of like insanity. Where like I think it's so crazy that everyone's just like, okay, you're watching fiction almost.
Yeah.
Because this is a fictitious
It
amount
only
of money.
became interesting. I'll say this: it only became interesting because it really was a statistical anomaly.
Yeah.
Like there's a roughly 1 in 400 chance of opening a knife. So the fact that he opened $45,000 worth of cases before he got a knife is like statistically impressive. It's like insane. And so at some point, once you cross 20K, you have to be like, well, I have to keep going.
Yeah,
like I just have
sure.
to see how far I can go without this actually happening, right? Like, I will say at the very least, he did actually pull a nice knife. It would have been
Was it Tiger Tooth?
No, it was a Marble Fade Karambit.
Oh, Marble Fade.
If he had pulled like a $200, like a fucking safari gut knife, it would have
like a Navajo,
been the best fucking thing, bro.
Vanilla.
It would have been so funny. Anyway, do you want to talk about Death Stranding 2?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about
I
Death
apologize
Stranding
to anyone if I was reading too deep into any of that. I don't have a problem with Nadeshot. I don't have a problem with Valkyrie. I just want people to play the game as well, because I think that's cool. Is when people learn to play Counter-Strike.
2. I think it's cool too.
Yeah, Death Stranding 2 is fucking crazy, man.
So I've never played Death Stranding, but I'm a massive Metal Gear fan.
Yeah.
Huge. MGS3 is my favorite game of all time. All time. Like, I love the franchise so dearly. I did a react a couple months ago to the Death Stranding 2 trailer.
Yeah.
Having never played Death Stranding.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucked.
Yeah.
This is so fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a Norman Reedus who's holding a baby.
Yeah.
And in a fucking capsule.
Yep.
And there's like an Attack on Titan thing. And like, right? And Jared Leto is in that. No, not Jared Leto. The guy, there's someone who looks like Jared Leto's
Troy Baker,
Joker.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Troy
Troy
Baker
Baker.
looks like the fucking Joker that Jared Leto played with the fucking weird emo shit. Like, what the fuck is like this game?
It's like, yeah, it's beyond some comprehension and also beyond parody at some points. And like, sure, I understand the argument that it could be self-indulgent to Kojima.
No.
But
Hideo Kojima self-indulgent?
Yeah, I know.
No.
But like, I'm like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like any complaints about the game, I'm fully like, you just don't get it. Like I am like
you got to do that. Yeah,
yeah, like I am that about this game where I'm
I was
like
like that about MGS4.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I was like, people who are like, this game isn't good. I was like, it's okay. It goes over some people's heads.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
you
it's
just don't
not-
get it.
Yeah.
or like I'm playing it in front of Steph and she's like, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, "You're not supposed to understand what that is." Like
You're not supposed
I
to.
or like we may or may not find out what that means. Like I know like the ultimate line in Death Stranding, because like just for like a quick explanation, basically like a massive like the equivalent of like nuclear explosions happen, causing like mass extinction. It's a mass extinction event that happens on humanity, and what happens is a lot of people that die. Or people that die get trapped on what they call their beach.
Yeah.
Because it's like beached whales. Death Stranding is kind of where it comes from. Is people get stuck on their beach where they're basically in limbo, kind of like purgatory, like stuck between life, like the afterlife and living life, and they form those sort of black tar kind of floating monsters. And the babies can like detect them. And the babies are basically the bridge in between those two worlds.
Oh, they're called bridge babies?
Yes,
I know
because
that
they're.
also.
I think the thing is that they're not full term babies, so they're like they are between like living in
premature. Or
yeah,
something.
the premature, like they're
Yeah.
between living and dead. Once again, like everything you say, you have to just say "I think" because
Yeah.
but basically, like some people can reach their beach, some people can actually go to it. Also, great band, Reach the Beach. Or is that an album? Might be an album. Anyway, there's a line in it where one of the characters says, "I'm your Princess Beach," as in like Princess Peach. And it just like
That's not real.
fully straight face.
That's not real.
And it's like, I can't remember if it comes after or before. You literally do like a Tekken health bar fight with someone that was never in the game prior. Like just mechanics that were never in the game, never addressed, never shown again. Someone was literally playing the new one today, and there was like a point where they find like a hot spring or something like that, and like you get Norman Reedus to take a little bath in hot spring, and the guy just looks up, and then it's just like Hideo Kojima is just in the stars, like literally just like a photo of him like looking down, and he's like, okay, never happens again, never addressed again. But yeah, at its core, the game like that's like this like the actual story of the game, but the components, as everyone I'm sure knows, is like it's a walking simulator, meme where like you literally are like an Amazon delivery guy. Boca, I think I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly, but like that's what it's based off, is these couriers that would be in like the mountains of Japan, often I think like living in like resort areas, or like just high mountainous areas where you couldn't take vehicles anywhere to transfer stuff, or it was like sacred ground where like you didn't want to like destroy anything while you're walking. It was like leave no trace type of delivery system where you would have these people with just stuff strapped to their back and like going to the different houses and the different resorts and different hotels or whatever in these areas, and different communities, giving these things, these products, and that's basically what it is. And it came out right before COVID happened, which is so funny because the whole idea is everyone's terrified because if you go outside and you get taken by one of these tar monsters, these BT beach things, and they take you underground, it can cause a void out, which is basically a nuclear explosion. So no one wants to go outside, so that doesn't happen. So everyone's stuck inside in these communities. And then literally the game comes out months later, COVID happens. And everyone's like, how did he do it again?
Yeah.
Like he literally predicted
bro.
like the entire like military industrial complex,
Yeah.
and like child soldier, like all these things that he's like, and it's not necessarily maybe like predicting because he's just like tuned in and all these things are happening, but no one's just like taken the time to actually like allegorize it, if that's the correct word. But like this was fucking crazy.
Yeah,
That literally like I started
insane.
playing this game, and then like a month later, I was like in the game and couldn't go outside. Because like I thought I was gonna like get COVID and kill my entire family, and and this one is just like I'm literally just like so enamored with delivering shit that like I haven't even progressed the story. Like I've gotten to a certain point where I can go back to the first starting area. And I'm just like going back and forth and just doing all the deliveries to try and get like the highest scores possible. Like not even progressing the single player yet because I'm just like so obsessed with delivering, you know, random equipment.
Is it relaxing?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like repeating the same process.
Because it's the first time you do something, it's usually difficult. So there'll be like enemies in the area, the BTs, which are basically like kind of turns into like stealth sections, and then like the enemies is just more classic combat sections. But then like as you do it, you can build like a road that goes over it, so you can just drive on the road. That makes it like 10 times easier, and you'll get a higher score too because it takes you less time, and the products get less damaged. So then it just becomes like, now I'm building these roads, and the more that you interact with other, because it's always online in the sense that
I saw this. It makes the roads.
Yeah, so there's other
That's
people
really
playing.
Cool. Yeah, I watched this.
And the more that you interact with the other people, so people could like in Dark Souls like leave signs behind or whatever.
Yeah.
So the more you interact with those signs, and the more people interact with the stuff that you leave behind, so you can literally leave behind like a ladder for someone, or put a ladder down, and then other people that have like similar ratings to you that ladder will show up for them. And be like, oh, sick, like this ladder's actually clutch because like it got me to a good area. I'm going to leave it a like. So you like leave it a like, and the more you do that and the more you like other people's stuff and they like your stuff, the more those other people's items will show up in your world, which includes roads. So like you can get to a point in the game where you're just liking people's shit, doing nothing, and maybe contributing a little to like stuff people are building for the community, and eventually like the roads will be built for you, and you never actually built them yourselves. You're just being like a team player. It's like,
Sorry, we should wrap it up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being self-indulgent here.
I mean,
But-
I'm
fascinated.
enamored.
This is the most that Death Stranding has ever made sense to me. Just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah.
You've actually managed to make it understandable.
Have you ever played Metal Gear, Danny? Metal Gear?
No.
No.
Are you gonna play the remakes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they look pretty cool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's.
I don't know if I'll play Death Stranding. I don't know if I'm ready. Like I like,
I don't think I'm ready.
like I shit, man. Like I don't know. I don't really had a reason for playing the first one. I think it was just like I was just like, playing a lot of CS, and because it was like a new Kojima game,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I want to like it's
Yeah.
gotta be like it's ceremonial.
There's a
you know
lot
what I mean?
like, oh, it might like when people pass off a game, like, oh, it just is not for everyone. I'm like,
Yeah,
every
yeah.
game is not for everyone.
That's true. Yeah,
So
and I
like,
heard that a lot.
I
about
feel like that
Death
was like the
Stranding.
main criticism people got.
Yeah.
And like, if it didn't immediately spark to you, you probably thought, oh, I'll probably just be one of those people where it's the gameplay loop isn't for me.
Yeah, which I definitely heard a lot of people
Yeah.
saying that it was like, it's not really for me, and so maybe I thought that I would just give it time, and then never got around to it. But it seems like a good time to get into the first one, knowing that
Yeah.
the second one will be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should wrap it up.
Mhm.
Any last words on the front, Danny? Anything esports, gaming, e-gaming related?
Not really. I'd be down to sit and just talk about Death Stranding too for another
Fuck
another
yeah.
hour. But
That's that's the second podcast after
That's
this
actually
one.
the second podcast.
oh yeah, you
Yeah.
guys got another separate podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
just
Yeah,
for
we actually
this.
were starting a Death Stranding podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm thoroughly satisfied with the gaming and esports chat today. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
absolutely,
Yeah,
my
buddy.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Probably, maybe next week too.
Yeah, maybe. I'm interested to see what the clips are going to be from this. That's always. What do you think? What's the most clippable moment?
Oh
from
yeah,
this?
who's gonna get clip farmed?
Who's gonna get clipped from?
I think you laughing at Seb being happy about
Saying,
the buses.
yes,
That's
the
gotta be a
buses
clip.
to
I want to watch
Kitchener.
that now.
Yeah, I know. That was great.
That was good. Good fun.
Devin, any last words?
Nope. Just stay safe and have fun out there, and enjoy family and loved ones, and
Enjoy family.
And vegetables.
vegetables.
Now that you're back and
and
have access to them again.
And yeah, that's it.
Cool. Well, that's it for us here over at theScore Esports for TTK. I was Dimitri. I am Dimitri. I was your host. And we will see you guys next week.